present. Commissioner Wilkins is excused this afternoon for a bit of an illness she's going through, and so we'll do the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Right into the agenda. So we're at 2.0, which is public comment. Individuals wishing to address the county court may do so at this time and at other times throughout the meeting. Speakers are asked to raise your hand to be recognized by the chair, give your name and address, and limit comments to 3 minutes. Mary, did you guys have stuff you wanted to talk about? Kind of. Maybe a little bit.
I am Mary Mitchell, and this is Betsy Jeffries.
Hello.
Perry. She's our board member. So this is on behalf of the library board, that we just kind of wanted to find out what is going on with the IGA possibilities, and we wanted to give you our proposed budget.
Okay.
And it is a little bit higher than what I had discussed with you overnight, because they did an increase on the wages and then also added in extra for benefits for insurance.
Okay.
And for some type of retirement type.
I think when we talked about 25, so where did you guys end up?
Just another 1,000 more.
Okay.
So 26.
Perfect.
And then we added the same amount to the city request for the city too. So
Okay. So where we are is, and this is great too, because that way Leslie can be updated, is we had a draft come back from council. I sent that over to the city. There was a little bit of confusion over sort of who's accountable to the county for how those funds are spent, if that makes sense. So because right now the agreement is directly with the city, so the idea would be, they need to make sure that there's some reporting requirements that are attached to it, things like that. The city's initial response back was that they had sort of felt like the library board was a separate entity. And so obviously some of their charter documents don't quite match up. And so what I've gone back to the city and had a conversation with the mayor about was, the county is sort of agnostic in terms of how the city and you guys decide how you want to handle your library. We just need to make sure from a accountability standpoint that we're signing the contract with the right individual. So I am planning on going to the city council meeting tonight. It sounded like the mayor was going to raise this question and get some feedback from the councilors on how does the structure need to look. And so based on what they tell us, if they're saying basically, yes, this is technically still our library, then we would just need to adjust that amount slightly, which is not a big deal. We can make that amendment really easily. And then they would just need to let us know if they had any concerns with the draft. And because our council is okay with it as it is. And so if they say that actually they would like the library to be treated completely independent of them, then likely what we would need to do then is just reframe the IGA slightly so that it would be the library board that would essentially be accountable to the county. And the only reason for that is there's some reporting requirements in there. There's basically some language in there that it's our boilerplate language, but it's like, if this money is spent for a purpose that was not intended, you're committing to pay us back, those kinds of things. That initially gave the city some heartburn, I think, because they were saying basically you guys have your own budget, and so what I just said and conveyed to the city is that we need some clarity on who's actually in charge of making those decisions around the funding, because it appears that some of their founding documents are a little murky about how that relationship needs to work. So my hope is that we'll get that kind of cleared up from city council and how they intend to treat that, and that actually might be beneficial. I'm hoping for you guys as well, maybe, to have some clarity on that.
It's just extremely confusing because they consider the library board an advisory board. And yet, at least this is what we've been told in the past. Now, whether they've changed something and haven't informed the board, we haven't seen any information on any kind of changes. So it's really difficult to understand that we can be completely separate. I mean, we have a separate checking account and we do account for the funds.
Yeah.
But we give all of that back to them after every meeting. They get financial statements, they get our budgets, they approve the budgets themselves, they approve any board members or anyone that we have.
Yeah,
so it is very confusing, and I would like to see it settled for all of us.
Yeah, and I think that's what we're hoping for too. Like I said, we don't have, I mean, as far as I know, as a county, we don't have a position on how that should be handled. We just want to make sure that we're being a good partner and that the contracts are with whoever they actually need to be with. So whether that's the city or the library board, I don't think it really matters to us. We just want to make sure that we're not saying that the city's responsible if it's actually the library board or vice versa. So I am planning on coming to the meeting tonight and sort of listening in and engaging if they would like me to on why we need some of that clarity from them. Because it does sound like there's some murkiness in how all of this works together.
So do you want a copy of the budget and our increase and all that?
If that would be great. I think if you give a copy to Teresa, when the IGA actually comes up on the county court, we'll just attach that as part of the packet so the commissioners have a copy attached to the IGA.
So this also includes what pay increase there was and the hours, the change in hours we had. Of course, we lost one person from the library, so we kind of juggle our hours around because of that. So anyway, this is the proposed.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And then this is the proposed budget, and then I attached the project budget also.
We are, I will say we are going forward as if this will be signed and in place by the new fiscal year. And so I've asked our budget folks that are working on the budget. I think our intention right now is to create a line item within the Gilliam County Library budget that would just be earmarked for you guys, basically. And so you would be, that way people can see that it's directly connected with the county's commitment to library services. And if people are curious, it's kind of, tied together. So we're proceeding from the budget standpoint as if this will be in place, and this is just a small little hiccup we need to smooth with the city, and that the funding will be there. So my intention is to still have the budget committee go through and appropriate the funds and all of that, and then that would still give us until basically July 1 to get the actual IGA in place. So we still have a couple of months. We'll just proceed on the budget side and make sure we get that authority to expend those dollars in that way. And we'll let the IGA process catch up depending on what the city decides ultimately. So, any other questions or things that you wanted to raise for us? Fantastic, we'll get it done. It's just a couple of small things we need to work out, but
I'm glad you're pursuing it.
Yeah.
A good thing that will kind of get things a little more.
Might help clarify some things too between the two entities, it sounds like. So.
Okay,
Thank you. Any questions for them?
No.
Okay, thank you.
I remember way back.
Bye. See you later. Thanks for coming, guys. So moving on to 3.0, award bid for the Ward Street shop alterations. So as as you know, these are this is part of the lease that we have for the Ward Street shop. Pillar Consulting released an RFP on our behalf, and then also solicited proposals from a number of entities. We had 2 bids come back. The deadline was last Tuesday, March 3rd, and quite a disparity between the two. For the record, for people who are watching at home, we had 2 come in, one from Rutherford Construction in the amount of $38,185, and one from Kirby, I don't know how to pronounce Nagelhout Construction for $149,768. I did ask Jeff why he thought there was a disparity between the two, and he really can't pinpoint what happened there. They're obviously have further to travel, and so he had anticipated they might come in a little bit higher just because they're moving crews from further away and, some of the travel costs, but not $111,000 more. So his recommendation to us was that we go ahead and accept the bid from Rutherford Construction.
The low bid?
Yes.
Yeah, that makes it a little easier.
Yeah. Not even close.
Well, I would move them to award the construction contract for the Ward Street shop alterations to Rutherford Construction in the amount of $38,185 per the bid dated March 3rd, 2020.
I will second that. So it's been moved and seconded that we award the construction contract for the Ward Street shop alterations to Rutherford Construction in the amount of $38,185 for the bid dated March 3rd, 2020. So further discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, so we are now going to move into executive session. The executive session will be held pursuant to ORS 192.6602F, which statute permits the court to meet in executive session to consider information or records that are exempt by law from public inspection. Representatives of the news media and designated staff will be permitted to attend the executive session. All other persons will not be permitted to attend the executive session. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report on any of the deliberations during the executive session, except to state the general subject of the sessions as announced. No final decision will be made during the executive session.